St. Mary's Church in the Creggan was packed for the Requiem Mass for Mrs. Lewis and Mr. Dalton. They had gone to a flat out of concern for the occupant who had been missing for a few days when the bomb exploded. Bishop Daly said that the two who died had put love of God and neighbour before any flawed and distorted ideology.
It has to be said quite clearly, that the explosion last Wednesday did not go tragically wrong. It did exactly what it was designed to do. It killed the people who came to that flat out of concern for the missing occupant. It also must be said that we do not want to hear any more apologies from the IRA or from anyone else. We seek an end to all of these funerals. And it must be patently clear that after all the death and the suffering and the misery and the destruction in this city over the last 20 years, that our political problems must be solved by dialogue and by reconciliation rather than by war and conflict and confrontation.
Among the congregation was the SDLP leader John Hume and the Vice President of Sinn Féin, Mr. Martin McGuinness. At 6 Mile Cross in County Tyrone, there was massive security for the funeral of IRA man Brian Mullin. RUC men and British soldiers had surrounded the Mullin home and the route of the funeral procession. Sinn Féin's Gerry Adams, Martin McGuinness and Danny Morrison were in the congregation. The coffin was led by a lone piper and draped with a tricolour, black gloves and berry. When it arrived at the church, journalists and cameramen were ordered to leave. And in Belfast, the SDLP was being briefed on the ending of its party's talks with Sinn Féin before a full statement is issued next week.